Hey guys, I was inspired by another video to do this political compass test again. I did this. I've done this a couple of times. About once, first time was probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 10 years ago, and I probably did it about 5 or 6 years ago as well. Didn't record it that time, but I do remember what my scores were. So I thought I'd have a look at this test today and see what happened. So here goes. Dun, dun, dun. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Okay, so with this one, let's have a look. I mean, because it's sort of, if globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. So it should primarily service. I mean, transnational corporations are people, are they not? So if it's serving humanity, it can serve humanity, and it can serve transnational corporations. So I'll just say yes. Why not? Um, I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. Well, not in all instances. I don't think in all instances I would support my country, whether it was right or wrong. I would certainly stand up and speak out if it did what I didn't think was the right call. But would I support my country whether it was right or wrong? Um, no, no, because I might, you know, what if people I really don't like are in charge of my country? Then I wouldn't support it. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. No, I disagree. I think that you should be proud of your country of birth. It's important to be proud of your country of birth. Where you're born shapes who you are as a person. So it's really important that you are proud of what shapes you as who you are. If you're not proud of what shapes you and who you are, then you can't be proud of yourself. So that's so we'll do that one there. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Well, what are we saying here? Um, First of all, what do you mean by race? Now, you could say this as the human race, and if you're saying that our race as the human race has many superior qualities compared with other races, well, then you'd have to strongly agree. But I believe the definition of race in this one is the color of your skin. Our race, which if you're saying heritage, then maybe some races might have superior abilities in some areas. I mean, it's all genetics anyway. Like it all shows up in the statistics. But what's good here might not be good there. It's like how can you say that one would be superior? So I'd say. I'll just say disagree. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, not necessarily. The enemy of my enemy might be my enemy as well. You know, what if one of your enemies hates everybody? And you happen to hate the other one. The enemy of my enemy can be my friend, but it can also be my enemy. So we'll just say disagree. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Look, how do I put this better? Fuck international law. Fuck these international bodies that pretend to rule over the different countries around us. We should go into agreements with our allies and the people that we want to go into agreements with. They should be negotiated voluntarily between individual nations. Military. Sometimes it is justified. Sometimes it is justified. But you still can't be a piece of shit. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. No, I disagree. I think it's great. I think the media, the way the media is going today with the internet, is fantastic. Entertainment, information, it's fantastic. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. Um, People are divided more by class than by nationality. So, I mean, no, I don't think people are divided more by class than nationality. Because, I mean, if you're divided by nationality, then it's more likely that they're going to be in another country. So that's a pretty big divide there, wouldn't you agree? So no, people aren't divided more by class than by nationality. So I'm gonna strongly disagree with that one on the grounds of basic logic. Um, Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. This is a dumb one. I hate this question. I really hate this question. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to say, uh, you know what? I'm going to say strongly agree because the government should just control inflation completely in that it shouldn't make any of it. Stop making inflation. That's how you should control inflation. Stop inflating the money supply. Stop pretending that we're more wealthy than we are and inflating the money supply. Supply is what I meant to say there. Don't, it's, you're ruining the money supply. As I just said repeatedly, the Romans did it destroy their economy. We should stop doing that right away, if we can. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Yeah, a little bit of regulation, but I think the regulation should be more around property rights, in that, you know, if you damage someone else's property, then you are liable for the costs of the damage. Like if you damage someone's water supply, then you pay to clean up that water supply. That should be, that would be maybe a good way of solving a lot of environmental problems. It's more contract law. I mean, I guess I would say contract law in that regards does come under regulation. Wouldn't you agree? I don't know. Maybe leave a comment for that one. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally horrendous idea. Strongly disagree. Theft is immoral. Do you know that? Theft is immoral. Stealing is immoral. Even if you think you're stealing for a good cause, it's still immoral. Even if you're the only one with the guns. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. This is a tough one for me. It's a little bit of a religious thing for me as well. I don't really want to go into my religion today and what I believe. I have started going to church recently, but I won't go into it too much right now. I've enjoyed it. But like I said, I'm just going to have to say, I mean, actually my belief, I won't go into it too much, but I feel like that, water starts all life. And if God created life, then God created water to, maybe God created water. He let, then to spring life from that. So maybe we shouldn't bottle water. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but there is some water where they bottle it, but they give to a good cause and things like that. And I think that's great. So, look, even with that in mind, I don't think it's a sad reflection on society. I mean, it's great that we're able to do it. We've achieved a lot, the human race. It's great that we're able to do it, and water doesn't mind that much. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Shouldn't. Land shouldn't. Land is a commodity to be bought and sold. But should it not be shouldn't it? Shouldn't be no, I disagree. Of course it should be a commodity to be bought and sold. It's a commodity. Tragedy of the Commons. Look it up. It is regrettable that many fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society. Oh, yeah, I think it is regrettable in the extent that it's being done right now. If it was being done in a purely free market, it wouldn't be regrettable. But the fact that the market's not free right now and that the financial system is completely centrally planned, it's one of the most regulated industries, if not the most regulated industry in the entire world. That's the truth. Go look it up. It's extremely regulated. There's tons of regulations. Um, so, and it's regrettable that that can be used to make massive fortunes, which is essentially what's happening. That is regrettable. So I agree. But I think this test for you to go, to believe in more economic freedom, you have to, that I think that affects that a little bit. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Here's the thing. I think it sometimes might be necessary. Maybe if it could be necessary sometimes if there's like a political thing. It's regrettable. It's definitely regrettable. You don't want protectionism. It's better if it's purely free trade. But if it's game theory. It's all about game theory. If one side has free trade, the other side doesn't have free trade, then the other side benefits and the free trade side loses out. So you have to both have non-free trade, which would make them both losers, which is down here, or both free trade, where they're both winners. Free trade winners, non-free trade losers. I'm doing it over here. Maybe you can't see it. So free trade winners, not free trade losers. Free trade winner, free trade loser, they get a lot more money, so they're sort of up here, like that as well. So what you want is there, like you want it to be there. It's all about tit for tat, cooperation. It's how we evolved, and it works. So you both want free trade, but it has to be free trade, genuine free trade for both sides, and that's the truth. So it is sometimes necessary, but it's regrettable because you both want free trade. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I do agree, because the promise they make to society as a whole, and shareholders are part of their society, is that they would make a profit for their shareholders. So that's their only social responsibility. You could argue maybe they have like moral responsibilities, or they might have they might have environmental responsibilities if you want to go down that path. So they might have those responsibilities as well. But social responsibility, I think their only responsibility to society is to make a profit. The only ultimate one. But they still can't be violating the non-aggression principle and hurting other people. Obviously, voluntary free trade capitalism, real capitalism. Look it up. The rich are too highly taxed. Yeah, they are too highly taxed. It makes them take their money offshore so they don't get taxed. You idiots. It's really not that hard. Lower taxes, we get all that money coming in, it gets spread through the economy grows, everyone's happy, yay, everyone gets richer, freedom, isn't it wonderful? Goodness me. The people who rule us, hey? The people who rule us don't know what they're doing. They really don't know what they're doing. They think they know what they're doing, and that's the problem. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Yeah, strongly agree. If you can pay for better medical care, then you should be able to get better medical care. I think the government shouldn't regulate medical care so much that it becomes very expensive and you can't get it without having ridiculous insurance plans or spending way too much anyway. In Australia, we do have... Actually, Australia is not too bad as far as I can tell. America, where the regulations are really, really bad, where the government's just regulated it to hell, that's a lot worse. Maybe it's a discussion we could have another day if someone wants to talk about it with me. Healthcare system in Australia. Do your research. Governments should penalise businesses that mislead the public. Yeah, through the court system. I think they should. Through the court system, through the promise that they made to their customers. It shouldn't be done by legislation, other than to say, thou shalt be honest. Essentially, you shall do what you say what you do, all that kind of thing. That's the principle that should be applied by the courts when penalising business for misleading the public. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. I love this question. Predator multinationals. What a question. Dun dun dun. Predator multinationals are coming for you. It's ridiculous. What's a predator multinational? What are they doing? They hunting you down with better products and services at a low price. What is those predators? How could they do such a thing? Yeah, so predator multinationals. No, to answer the question, a genuine free market, for a market to be genuinely free, all you need, like, freedom requires less restriction. Wouldn't you agree? So less restriction. So how could a genuine free market require restrictions? Other than maybe, look, I mean, you could say maybe there'd be a very few restrictions that you'd have a look at. So I guess, look, maybe it is a fair question in that regards. But I guess the question is, you have to sort of, like, where do you draw the line? And there would be it would be as low as you possibly could. So for a genuine free market, let's have a look. For it to be genuinely free, well, if it's genuinely free, restrictions, like, it's like, how do you answer that question accurately? I mean, economics is my thing, which is why I'm sort of hanging on this question a little bit. I really like this question because it's funny, because predator multinationals sounds so bad, but what does define a genuine free market? I don't think it requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals. I'm going to say strongly disagree, because a genuine free market doesn't require that restrictions if it really requires many restrictions at all. And then the restrictions are like on honesty and speaking the truth and offering, giving customers and supplying to customers what you offered them, what you said you would supply them when they gave you their money, when they offered you their custom. Honesty, keep your word. You keep your word, and once you keep your word and you keep your stuff, as Stefan Molyneux says, you keep your word, you keep your stuff. That's what capitalism requires. So as long as these predator multinationals don't lie to us and don't lie about what they're doing, and they don't hurt, they don't violate the non-aggression principle as well, and they don't hurt their fellow man, who cares? Let them sell their cheap, crappy products, and we'll make better ones, maybe, because there'll be no restrictions on our free market as well, so we can make better products. Ain't the free market voluntary exchange grand? Anyway, I'll move on. It is a question I like. The freer the market, the freer the people is the next one. Obviously, I really disagree. I really agree. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. No, I disagree. I don't want to get into an abortion debate. I did make a video about abortion, but I don't want to get into an abortion debate, so I'm just going to say disagree. All authority should be questioned, yes. All authority should be questioned all the time. All the time. Any kind of authority, whether it's your teachers, your parents, teachers, parents, police, always question authority. Journalists, the media, especially politicians most of all. Every authority should be questioned. And whenever someone says, stop questioning authority or stop questioning what I'm saying, that's when you should question them the most. Seriously. You should question them the most when they're telling you that you're not allowed to question them, because what do you got to hide? You should always be able to answer questions because you're always speaking the truth, wouldn't you agree? If you're telling people the truth, you can always answer questions easily and not do that deflection thing that politicians like to do, where they sort of pretend to answer the question but they don't actually answer the question. That's really annoying. I really dislike it when politicians do that, and you should too. It's really, really annoying. You know who you are, initials BS. You know who you are. You're the worst of all. Oh, don't want to get too political anyway. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. No. Strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. Rehabilitation's important, and, you know, they need to be taken out of society. But, you know, yeah, we are human. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theatres or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I strongly agree with that one. I strongly agree with that one because they're offering a service. You're offering a service, and if it's a service that people like, then they will pay for it. Make a better play. Make a better movie. Go on YouTube. Go on the internet. The internet's amazing. You don't need taxpayer money. Stop using taxpayer money to prop up things that and to show things that only you like. Put it on the internet. It's more fun. Do it that way. Sit around with your friends in your house and watch it together. Why the hell not? Maybe people might start liking it. Freedom is grand. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Schools should not make classroom attendance. Yeah, I agree. I don't think schooling should be compulsory. I think you should send your kids to school, but I don't think it should be compulsory. No, you should be allowed to homeschool your children, obviously, if you want to. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Different sorts of people should keep to their... This is such an ugly question. I don't like this question at all. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Their own kind. Stupid question, right? Oh, goodness me. I'm just going to say disagree. Because racism is bad. Racism is bad. Judge people by what's in here, and what's in here, and what they say. That's what's important. Who they are as a person, and you show love. Let's see. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. No, disagree. Don't hit your kids. It's not nice. You don't hit your kids. Put them in the naughty corner. Or if you got an iPad, say, you take the iPad away. It's great. And you know what? It doesn't violate the non-aggression principle because it's your iPad. Here, you can have my iPad. It's got your name on it, but I bought it. You're leasing my iPad. I can take this iPad away from you whenever I like. Doesn't violate the non-aggression principle. It will make them do what they're told. I guarantee you. If you really need to, put them in timeout. Put them in the naughty corner if you really have to. Let them calm down. So you can come out when you've calmed down. It works a treat. You don't need to hit your kids. Don't hit your kids. You're not a savage. It hurts. Don't do it. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Yeah, I think children do keep secrets from their parents. You don't want them to. Like, you want them to be able to tell you everything, but I think it's natural. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offence. Of course, I strongly disagree. I strongly agree. Marijuana, it should be legal everywhere. Who cares? It's marijuana. Just like, let's all get high and have fun and have really weird chats. It's, you know, it might be great fun. Just don't do it too often because you'll get caught in that world. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. To find jobs. Does that job count being self-employed? Does being self-employed count as a job? Does it? The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Why not to think for themselves? Why not to have great ideas? Why not to respect other people's ideas? Why not to listen to people and to debate with reason? teach these kids to debate with reason and use facts and evidence to say, this is true, and I think this is true because I saw this, and this is true, and that's true, and I know these are true because this is true. First principles. Why don't we teach them reading, writing, arithmetic, and first principles? Why is that so difficult? True first principles. If this is true, then this must be true. If this is true, then this must be true. Go right back to the basics. I'm sure we could do it. It'd make schooling great for the kids. They'd learn how to think for themselves. We'd have a great free society. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. No, I disagree. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Well, it's a bodily function, so strongly disagree. Of course, it's a bodily function. If they can find someone that wants to reproduce with them, let them reproduce. Do it. Who cares? As long as both partners, do the right thing and take care of their children, and they can take care of their children, and they do, what does it matter? And you cross that bridge when you get to it. You help them. If you need to help them, you help them. That's fine. The most important thing for children is to learn to accept discipline. Strongly disagree. The most important thing for children is to be good. You got to learn to be a good boy or girl. And there are only two genders, but don't say that on Facebook. Made a video about that. You should go check it out. It's called Banned on Facebook for saying there are only two genders. It's hilarious. You should go check it out. Let's see. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. Strongly disagree. Of course there are savage and civilized people. Civilization, by definition, is living in cities. That's where the term comes from. So, obviously, there are savage people who don't live in cities. They live in like tribes as hunter-gatherers or really small villages, which wouldn't be classed as cities. With no power, where life is nasty, brutal, and short. Isn't civilization good? We want to teach people, speak the truth, and grow the civilization and make it better, make life better for everybody. Regardless of where they're from. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Yep, I agree. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity. If you're able to work and you can't work and you just choose not to, you really should work. You need to. And the thing is, you should need to work. That's the thing. It shouldn't be an option. It's like, well, if I don't take this job, I can't pay the rent. That should be there. I mean, you've got your family, your friends, and hopefully your community to help you out there. But it's like, shit, if I don't take this job, then I won't be able to help my family. I'll have to keep relying on all these people. It's so much better when you don't have welfare. It really, really is. Society is a lot better. I can tell you, welfare makes you lazy. I guarantee you. It makes you lazy. Those are... When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more... Nah, disagree. It's better to have it out, solve it in your head, maybe, speak about it with a friend. If it's a conflict with someone, then you should talk it out with them, maybe try and solve the issue, rather than think about other things. It's best to solve the issue as quickly as possible, so you can get on to solving the next problem. Do it that way. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it. Sorry, I can't sing. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their country. Yeah, I agree. I think maybe second generation could, growing up with all other people who are all integrated already. But no, I don't think first generation could be integrated unless maybe when they were here when they were very young, like when they were very, very little, but even then, maybe not. Depends how much they mix with the wider community, the wider culture. It really just depends. I'm just going to say agree, because never say never, but it's probably a lot more likely than not. What's good for the most successful corporation is always ultimately good for all of us. Yes, provided the corporation isn't backed by the government, provided the corporation isn't being held up by regulations and isn't being given a leg up over other regulations, like, oh, you can't get a license. An example, in my hometown in Melbourne, I'll tell you this example. Crown Casino are the only casino in Melbourne. So guess who makes massive profits? And when you go in there, like, I used to love gambling. Like, I should say this. I mean, I played poker. I played poker for a number of years, and I like to punt. And I'm not like a problem gambler or anything. I enjoyed it as a punt, like as playing poker, as playing cards. And you go to Crown and the odds for the average person are horrendous. Like, the poker tables have, like, last time I was there, it was like $5 an hour rake plus 10%. So $5 an hour time plus 10% rake at the poker tables, which is just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then you go to the blackjack tables, it's all the same. The odds are terrible. But they're the only one in town, so they're the only competition. So, what's good for them isn't good for me or anybody. Ultimately, what's good for them is not good for us. What's good for us is competition, so that the odds go down and you help the problem gamblers, and that's a lot better. What's good for everyone is that there's competition and that we have choice and we're not getting ripped off. But now I don't get, why bother going to punt? Like, what's the point? It's illegal online in Australia anyway. Can't do that. It's probably a good idea now. I don't have the money to do it right now. But in the future, who knows? Who knows? So, no, look, but here's the thing. That's just one example. But if the corporation is like completely in a free market, then of course what's good for it is what's good for it is good for everyone. Of course, if it's a purely free market, what's good for the corporation is good for everyone. I'm going to take Facebook for example because they banned me, so I'm going to throw them under the bus. What's good for you is to let people speak, not censoring people for having opinions that you don't like or causing offense. Because what I'm doing now, I'm going to all these other places. I'm going to mines. I'm putting my videos on YouTube. I'm putting my videos on BitChute as well. I might upload them other places. I've got a Gab account. I'm putting them everywhere because Facebook sucks. You banned me for having an opinion. Like, that's so silly. What's good for you? It's not good for you to do that. You banning me is not good for you. I might no longer be a customer. What I am going to do now is I've got a page up there that has a bit of a follow. It's the most followed part of all of Matty's Modern Life. So I'm going to maybe leave the page up there, but I'll probably, I used to be just completely addicted to Facebook. So I'm off it for 30 days. I'll see how I go. Maybe I will get rid of it. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just get rid of my Facebook. That could be a thing. Make me get rid of my Facebook. Give me a good reason to get rid of my Facebook. Change my mind. We'll see if someone can make me get rid of my Facebook forever. If I can get all the followers over or whatever, because I'm just in the early stages of this, and it would be kind of cool. Anyway, I'm gonna say agree. I'm gonna say agree in this time. Yeah, because barring the, that's hurting Facebook, that's censorship. So what's good for them is to not censor me, and what's good for me is to not censor me. It's universally preferable behavior. I remembered. I hope I got that right. I've been trying to understand how universally preferable behavior works. I'm sort of like halfway through the book. I might have to read it again. But it's great. The Art of the Argument by Stefan Molyneux is really good. I went off, started reading the universally preferable behavior, and I'm halfway through that, but I've got a lot of other things that I'm doing, and I really should make the time to read the rest of both books, and they're really good. I'm about halfway through each of them. I would strongly recommend so far. Now, no broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. There was one exception to this, and I'll get into it, but when we're talking about public broadcasters like community radio and things like the ABC in Australia, like publicly funded BBC in the UK, all of those like publicly funded broadcasters, that they get public funding to broadcast news and current events and all that kind of thing. I mean, there should be no news and current events channel like that gets public funding. It should not happen. Look at this, we're on the internet. Everyone can broadcast. There is no need for it anymore. There is no need for it anymore. We have the internet. We don't need places like the ABC or BBC telling us how to think with our own money. Money they stole from us. They stole the money from us and then they use it to tell us how to think. Go away. Go away. BBC, ABC. You're cancer. You're horrendous. Anyway. Oh, there is one exception, sorry. I'll get to the exception. I nearly forgot. The exception is an emergency broadcaster. I think we should have an emergency broadcaster. So if there is an emergency, someone can get on the microphone and say, there is an emergency. We're getting invaded by polar bears from Venus. Imagine if that happened. We're getting invaded by polar bears from Venus. Ah! Alert, alert, alert. Who knows? An emergency broadcaster just for proper, we get a lot of bushfires in Australia, actually. I wish I'd thought of that. We get a lot of bushfires, so it's good for telling people there's a bushfire in this area, avoid here. So I saw California. Yeah, it's a bit of a tragedy. Oh God, they're horrible. We get them here in Victoria all the time. Where are we? Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Because this is American based, I'm going to say I agree. I don't think it's so much in Australia. Our liberties in Australia are being curbed in the name of of don't cause offence and identity politics and all that kind of garbage. You can't say this, you can't say that. It's a joke. I'm going to relax a bit. Where are we? A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. No, because that just means you can make the same terrible mistakes a lot quicker. Yes, it's an advantage that I can go and lead my entire country into a war without anyone else being able to say anything about it. That's wonderful. We get decisions to be made a lot quicker. Oy, oy, oy. One-party states are terrible. You need competition between representation. Where are we? Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need worried, I should say. No, I strongly disagree, because there is a right to privacy. You have the right to privacy. You have the right to keep to yourself if you want to, and to have no one else have a look at what you're doing. You do have a right. I mean, so long as you're not hurting anyone or planning something terrible, you do have the right to privacy. But you have to prove those other things. You have to prove that they're up to that first. In America, I think it's called due process. You got to have due process. You got to have a good reason to monitor. Evidence. It's called facts and evidence. Truth. You got to have the truth. It's important. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Yeah, I agree. It should be an option, but it shouldn't be an option that you use very often. Might do a video about this one day. It might be an interesting discussion. I don't want to talk about it now. I might have some views that you find a little bit controversial. But we'll see. Let's see. We'll see how it all goes. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Sounds quite sinister, doesn't it? One to be obeyed, one to be obeyed, and the other to be commanded. Command me, O Lord. But here's the thing. I think part of civilization is going into agreements where one person is in charge and the other person isn't, setting up that dominance hierarchy. I think that's part of civilization, is organizing that dominance hierarchy and organizing terms of your status within that dominance hierarchy. As Jordan Peterson says, it's important. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. It's always going to happen. But as long as it's under voluntary conditions, then that's totally fine. It's when someone puts a gun to your head and says, you must obey or I'll shoot you, then it's not okay. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Strongly agree. If we're saying abstract art is that new wave state-funded garbage that we see on our streets all the time, yeah, it shouldn't be considered art at all. It's not art. It's terrible. It's terrible. The public decides what's art. Standards decide what's art. It's truth. It's like music, but for your eyes. It's the same thing, sort of. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. No, I disagree. It should be the most important thing to want to rehabilitate people who have done the wrong thing, especially if they want to be rehabilitated, if they want to do better, if they don't want to do the same stupid shit over again. You should want to rehabilitate them, and they should genuinely want to be rehabilitated. Some people can't be rehabilitated. It is a waste of time to... Yeah, it is. I agree. It is a waste of time to rehabilitate some criminals. Some just can't be rehabilitated. Some should be put in prison for life. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Are they more important? Or are they equally important? Apples, oranges, business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. No, I disagree. They both serve different functions in a free market. They both serve different functions in a free market. I just had to say it again. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Yeah, I agree. Go out and get a job, but if you have children, your first duty is to your children. That's what God put you on this planet to do. To raise your kids. It's important to raise that second generation, that next generation, to build them into adults and not go off and chase some career that won't mean anything to you in 20 years anyway. Number one, you raise your kids. Of course, have a career if you want to. Of course, but number one is the kids. That's number one priority. It's the most important thing as a mother. Let dad go out and provide. But here's the thing. If the dad wants to stay at home and do the mothering, then that should be their agreement as well. It should be it should be between them, but there should be one at home taking care of the kid. It should be at least one at home. Obviously, more often it's going to be the man, because the man is designed to go out and provide for and protect his family. That's what we're made to do. So it's more often going to be the man. But if you have an agreement to do it the other way around, then that's totally fine as well. As long as it's voluntary. As long as we all respect each other and we love each other and we speak the truth. It's all fine. But mothers, your first duty is to your children, to do what's best for your kids. And as a father as well, the duty is to do what's best for your kid. And yeah, the best thing you could do is, as a mother, is take care of your kid. That is the best thing that you could do for them, and for yourself as well. In most occasions, it's the most happiness you will have as a woman. Some might be different, but the most happiness as a woman you will have is by taking care of your kids. I guarantee you, most of the time. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Are they? There might be some, I guess. I think, yeah, probably in maybe in like Africa and stuff, they might be unethically doing it. In conjunction with the local governments who are getting them to do it. So of course, I'm sure there are companies, there's crony capitalism everywhere. We'll call it cronyism, crony corporatism. Let's not tar the good name of capitalism, shall we? More Marxist doctrine. Right there. It is corporatism, crony corporatism. We can go and I might make a video of that one later as well. We'll see how we go. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Actually, I better write that one down. I'm going to write it down. Crony corporatism. It's a good idea for a video. An idea here is to do one for black markets as well. Better speed this up a little bit because it's getting late and I have something to do. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Nah, I disagree. Maybe making peace with your parents. Making peace with your parents is probably important, so long as they don't suck. So long as they at least try to do the right thing, then that's good. They should at least be trying to do the right thing, trying to speak the truth. Making peace with the establishment, it's not an important part of it. It's like, make peace with your overlords of the establishment. The older I've got, the more I've disliked the establishment. Like the genuine establishment, like the political and media elites, like those people who rule us right now. I've definitely not made more peace with them, and I'm 100 times more mature now than I ever was. Astrology accurately explains many things. I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm like super brave and really funny and like devilishly handsome, as you can clearly tell. And that's what that's what that's what astrology tells me. Therefore, I think astrology is quite accurate in the way it depicts the world. You cannot be moral without being religious. No, I disagree. You can be moral without being religious. I think religion helps. Like religion can guide you. It definitely can guide you like in the way to act. Like especially if you don't know, especially if no one's ever told you, it can be important. But it's not. You don't need it to be moral. I think being moral and being good is built into our nature. It's the way we are. We also have the capacity for great evil. Again, as Jordan Peterson says, we do have the capacity for great evil, but we do have the capacity for great good. And I think that's built into us. I think it's part of our nature. But religion does help. I can guarantee you that. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Strongly agree, I should say. Strongly agree. Charity is a lot better than social security than to help sorry, I'm just stuttering a little bit. Oh my god, this is horrendous. Charity is a much better means of helping the disadvantaged than social security. It's way better. Social security hurts the disadvantaged. So by definition, charity must be better. Social security hurts the genuinely poor and the genuinely unintelligent or unproductive or the genuinely hurt. It hurts them. It makes them miserable. It puts them in a cycle of welfare poverty. It makes them lose all hope. It makes them think, oh, I can just have kids and the state will pay for it. It's terrible for that. Charity is good for that. Charity, the local community helps that. That's what helps that. Charity is much better than social security. Social security can help people who are already relatively intelligent, already relatively productive. It can help you, have a bit of a safety net to maybe help you get back on your feet and all that kind of thing. But those people were going to get back on their feet anyway. They were going to get back on their feet anyway. You didn't need to help them. You needed to help the genuinely disadvantaged. You needed to help them. Welfare makes those intelligent people that I just spoke about, it makes them lazy. I think I said that already in this video. I think I've already said that. It does make you lazy. It definitely does. It makes you think, whatever. I can just, I've got welfare coming in. I've got, in Australia it's called Centrelink. I've got Centrelink coming. Don't need to work as much. Whatever. I can do something else. I don't need to work. I can go and study. Who knows? I'll just go and study. Why the hell not? I'll pay it back in my HEX debt. If I don't work, I don't pay. Don't do that. Only idiots do that. I can guarantee you that only idiots do that. Some people are naturally unlucky. No, I strongly disagree. Everyone's got the same amount of luck. When it comes to success in your life, you get what you put in. You got to work hard. Yeah, look, you might be more fortunate than someone else, but it's not like a natural trait. It's not naturally that you're less fortunate than them. It just happened. It's just the way it was. Chaos, man. Chaos and order. It is important that my child's school instills religious... No, I strongly disagree. I can instill the religious values, and so can my church. Okay. Part 6 of 6. Good. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. No, I strongly disagree. The person who inspired me to make this video she strongly agreed. She strongly agreed that sex outside marriage was immoral. So I'm going to tell you why it's not immoral. It's not immoral because it's mutual. Because so long as they are consenting adults, it is not immoral. They have volunteered into that exchange. it might not be what's best for them in the long run, but it's not immoral. They haven't stolen anything, they haven't lied, they haven't cheated. If it's purely consensual, there is nothing immoral about having sex just because you're not married. It's not an immoral thing. Now, you could argue, obviously, that it might be better to wait until after marriage to have sex. You could say that that's better, and I'm sure there are statistics that back it up. In fact, I believe there are statistics that back it up that it is better for you to wait until after marriage before you have sex in some instances. I'm not an expert on the actual statistics, but I'm sure you could make the argument that it is a better life decision to make. But is it immoral? No, it's not immoral. And it can't be immoral because it's consensual. And the idea is usually, see here, usually. I would say the vast majority of sex is between consenting adults. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child. No, I disagree. I think that they should be vetted just like every parent, and they shouldn't be abusing their kids in ways that I may have alluded to already. But we won't go into that discussion today. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult. Yeah, of course it should be legal. Strongly agree. It's freedom. Pornography is bad for you. It is bad for you, but it shouldn't be illegal. Of course it should be legal. It's your choice. It is your choice. Of course it shouldn't be illegal. Victimless crimes. It's your own choice. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly agree. What goes on in the bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. It's none of your goddamn business. Of course not. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Sorry, I need a bit of water. No one can feel naturally homosexual. No one? No, I strongly disagree. I believe that homosexuality especially in men, is very natural. Some people have made the argument that it's not as natural in women. I haven't researched that argument yet. I've seen statistics that may allude to there being evidence of that male homosexuality is a lot more common than female homosexuality, and it actually makes biological sense as well. I can go into it. We can talk about it another time if you like. I do make a series on biology and human behavior, so maybe I might make a video on homosexuality in the natural animal kingdom one day, and we can discuss that actual topic. Who knows? We'll see. So these days, openness about sex has gone too far. Yeah, I strongly agree. Of course it's gone too far. It's gone way too far. It's just women just give it up for nothing. You idiots. And then you both feel hollow. It's terrible. You want to build a strong, proper relationship with another human being. You want to meet that special someone and join with them in like a bond, a bond that lasts forever. And if you just have sex right away, it's like, how do you know? You don't even know this person. You don't even know whether you want that sex. You don't even know if you're going to fall in love with them. And it's like, you want that connection. Like, you really want to know that there is that connection there on every level. On the emotional level, the friendship level, and the sexual level. That's the hard part as well. That is a hard part. Like, you have to be open before you get into that commitment. Like, you really have to see it there, that sexual and that pure romantic. Even if it's just properly romantic, where you're both really genuinely attracted to each other properly in that primal manner, that you have to have all those three things. And once you have all those three things, that's an amazing relationship. That's what it's supposed to be. And openness about sex, like, you just ruin it if you just have sex like right away. You got to get to know each other first. Get the tension going. Let's have relationships again, like real, community and society and like children and kids and all this wonderful thing, community, freedom, speaking the truth and meeting people and talking to people. Isn't it a wonderful thought? Anyway, I strongly agree. So let's see where you stand. I better hurry this up. I do tend to rant a bit sometimes. This is why this is the only real live-ish video that I've done so far. Maybe I've done a couple of others, but This is the only one I've ever done like as a live stream. I did some talks, sorry. I did do some live interviews with some people, which you might like as well. But this is the first one I've done just on my own. Oh, sorry, I should say, see if you can guess. Have a think. Like, where do you think I came up? In the last two times I did this, the first time I ever did it, I came sort of in this area. So the free market right. It's the free market right. So on your screen, it should be, I think it, well, whatever, you can see it. It's the mouse here, there. So I was about there. So free market right, free markets, but maybe a little bit more authoritarian in my beliefs about certain things. That was when I was younger, and then I did it again, probably like I said, about 5 years later, and I was about Friedman, like so about in this area here. So that's actually how I discovered Milton Friedman, and really what got me right into economics as well. So it was this test. How amazing is that? Yeah, that's where I came in last time. So let's see where I came up this time. Okay, so there we are. So it's sort of here, like there. So it's still sort of on the free market right. It's a little bit more left than I was before, which is funny because in my mind, I'm actually more about economic freedom these days. I think it's the way the questions are worded. They make it a little bit difficult to. It's not getting a completely accurate picture, but it's pretty good. Like, generally, I am libertarian about certain social issues. Like, I don't think, I think marijuana should be legalized. I think freedom is important. It's important to speak truth, and it's important. Free speech is the fundamental right. It's the most important thing. It is the right to express yourself, even if what you're saying is horribly offensive to someone. The right just to say it. That's a God-given right. God gave us that right to speak the truth. And anyone who tries to take that away you're a bad person. Free speech, free expression, say what you want. Who cares if someone's offended? Who cares if it makes someone cry? It's their feelings. Their feelings are none of your business or anyone else's business. But anyway, so I actually think of more, so that's right in that regards. Like I said, I think I'm more to the right in terms of economics because I believe in a genuinely free market. Economics is one of my passions, so I love making economic videos. They take ages though, which is a problem. My Say's Law one it's the most popular one on my video on my blog right now. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. You'll enjoy it. It was the first one in that sort of style that I made. It was a bit of fun, and it's done pretty well. But I do love economics, and I am definitely more sort of, I'll probably be off the charts. Maybe that's that circle that leftists and political people are always talking about. The circle, where if you go so far left, you're actually far right. But these people on the far right actually look like socialists to me. How could they be far right? It doesn't make any sense. Mind blown. It's not true. It's not the far right. They're socialists. If you're a socialist, if you believe in government control, which is on the left here, you're a socialist. If you believe in state power, and I know that this thing had Hitler on the right. It did have Hitler on the right. I think, I'm sort of over here, but I think Hitler should actually be more on the, you can't see where I'm pointing, sorry, more on the left side, because he was very, very about state control of the economy. And there are other people who have done great videos, all factual, all researched, all have sites and credible references and all that kind of thing. Hitler was a socialist. He was a left-winger. Nazis are socialists. So the far right, there's people who want socialized healthcare and all that kind of thing. They're on the left. I view them as leftists. But here's the thing. The zeitgeist of the day, Right now it's the far right. It's just a label. Like now it's just far right doesn't mean anything anymore. It's far right. Far right. Who's far right? White nationalists, and they try and paint Milo as far right. Like Stephen Crowder's far right. Come on. They're not white nationalists. They say, we are not white nationalists. We are not. They say it outright, and they're like, they're the same. It's all racism. It's retarded. It's just retarded. People can see it's not true. They say it's not true. It's you look stupid when you make the accusation. Far right. Whatever. Anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry about my rants at the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks anyone who's a fan right now who's been watching all my videos so far. Thanks very much for the support. I really do enjoy doing this video. It's just a hobby right now. I'm doing other things to make money. I've got other things in the work for my work life and all that kind of thing. But thanks for your support so far. It's been, it's really good to have a view, especially if you've watched all the way to the end of this horrendous video. I'll see you next time.